Hey everyone, my name is Josh Burchick and I'm coming to you today to talk about cable cutters and how to set them up in our gear. So a couple years ago, my crew and I were involved in an entanglement scenario, and fortunately we had the training prior to this evolution taking place and we managed it successfully, but we also had a lot of takeaways from that incident. So with cable cutters, first thing I recommend is that they are actual 10-inch electrician grade cable cutters. There are some fire service models out there that include spanner wrenches and some other neat tools. We've noticed through training that they don't have the type of cutting power and integrity that true electrician grade cutters have. So with the electrician grade, we're looking for the O-style 10-inch cutters. Some of the things that I've seen people carry in their gear are lineman's pliers and dikes and needle nose. These are all different wire cutters that people have kept in their gear, and these are nowhere near as efficient as true cable cutters. What you'll notice is that these blades meet and touch. A lot of times they can actually push wire out of the little fulcrum, the pinch point here. With true 10-inch cable cutters, we have these overlapping blades which will create that shearing strength. And similar to O cutters for hydraulic tools, it'll actually pull into this fulcrum, so when they overlap, better shearing and you get better torque. So once we actually talk about storage, we want to keep these things as close to your core as you possibly can. So if your gear is set up with a radio pocket, put it in there and keep it close to your core. You may be in a position where one arm, maybe even both arms, are limited in their mobility. What we want to stay away from is putting them in your side pockets, maybe a leg pocket. Some of the things that we have also seen through training and experience is that when people cinch down their BA straps and they store them in a lower pocket, they're fishing to get everything out of their pockets, and door chocks and gloves are starting to get pulled out and they're having trouble finding their cable cutters. They're also having to lean and try to really manipulate further down into their pockets if it's down the leg. And sometimes they're actually not recognizing which pocket they're in, and they're pulling out a transfo line or a buddy breathing line from their actual SCBA. So that's why we recommend to keep it in your core. It's close. There's usually not many other things in there, and it's going to be the easiest thing to grab in a high stress situation. Now, when we set these things up, a couple things to keep in mind is that we want to make sure that they are absolute combat ready. So when we buy a new pair of cable cutters, we actually strip off the rubber piece, because sometimes if you just were to wrap a piece of webbing around it, the rubber grip will actually slide off and the entire thing will pop off the handle. So we take the whole rubber grip off, we put the piece of webbing on it, and we wrap it down nice and tight. Now, at a minimum, how I used to carry them was one piece of webbing with a knot at the end. So that way when they sit in my gear, I can grab it and I can pull it straight out instead of actually having to fish into my pockets. When I was in an entanglement scenario, at a certain point, I had to actually drop my cutters because I was doing other work. One of the firefighters that I'm housed with from Truck 7 recommended that I actually start looping it. Originally, I was worried about there being another entanglement or snag hazard with there being a loop, but now you can manage an entanglement scenario, keep it on your hand, crawl, continue to work, and if you find yourself in a bad situation, you can continue to just grab it and they're right there and you're ready to go again. So that's what we recommend. Also, just a little bit of quality control. Oil these as best you can. If you get to the point to where gravity will open them up, that's what we're looking for. Personally, I don't like the spring-loaded ones because depending on your hand size or what scenario you're going through, it's going to continue to push out and push away. I personally want to be able to manipulate these when I need to. Also, some of these tools might have a storage latch to keep them in the closed position. When you're working, that latch is going to get moved around and it's going to lock off when you don't want it to. So keeping these things lubed up without the spring, without a safety latch is also best practice. So the unfortunate thing is that there are line of duty deaths and near misses that we can attach to entanglement scenarios. Carrying the right piece of equipment can absolutely save your life, and it got me and my crew out of a really bad situation. As with anything, train on it, see what best practice is for you, and see what works. So again, the 10-inch electrician grade cable cutters is what I personally recommend.